On this episode, we got some black girl magic. Actor, producer Okema Moore stops by. Let's go.
How are you?
Good. I love the cup.
Thank you.
What is that?
So this was actually a Christmas gift from my mother. It is a lens, and unfortunately, it looks so much like a lens. I've had it on set, and people thought that somebody had laid a lens around.
That happened to me.
But it is a reminder for me every day that this is who I am. Like whenever I use it, I feel like, you know, everybody has this like superpower or this thing that reminds them of their superpower. Like, you know, like Black Lightning's coming up. Shout out to Nafisa. You know, when his little thing starts glowing, he knows what it is. Like when I hold this, I remind myself that I am of this world and that this is what I am and this is who I am.
You know, and it's important to have something to remind us in this noise.
Well, yeah.
Instantly,
I mean, that's
like
why
a
I got
talisman.
these.
You know, tats.
Like,
So she got tats.
I do have tats. So that one says purpose.
With a film reel.
It's a film reel.
Old
is
school.
The P. Old school film reel is the P. And the treble clap is the S. Because
we'll get a close up of that. That's hot.
Even though I don't sing as much anymore, music is my sanity. It's how I escape and how I recover. It's a thing for me. And then
What's that say?
over here choking. I don't know what's happening. So this says create, IVE, IVITY. So create, creative, creativity.
Create, creativity, creative.
Right.
Okay.
I create. I'm a creative. I use my creativity.
And it all comes from the creator, the ultimate creator. So what, like why? What's your why? What's your why?
Right now I want to know why I'm choking.
It's that damn coffee cup that looked like a lens.
No, it's not.
The devil's a liar.
I know that's right. No, my why. Why do I do this?
Yeah. Why are you here? Why you do this? Why did God put you here to do what you are called to do?
I had a very fortunate and unfortunate childhood. Fortunate in that money was never an issue for us growing up. I wasn't one of those kids that, you know, we were poor, and that wasn't my story. I was very spoiled in terms of monetary, material stuff. But we were so love poor. We were so love poor. I didn't come from an emotional family. I didn't come from an expressive family. There weren't a bunch of I love yous and hugs going around. That was not our life.
Right.
And so when I started in the arts, I started on Sesame Street. I must have been about 6. And I realized how fun it was to be in another space.
To be someone else?
Not to be someone else, but to be amongst other people that liked to create and be different. I was always a different kid. Like in my family, when I was in Guyana, I was different because I was in the States so much that they never really, that they used to tease me I wasn't Guyanese. When I was in the States, they would tease me because of the way I said certain words because I wasn't American. And I used to practice so hard to speak well. That growing up, you know, I was the white girl. I was a nerd, big time nerd. I wasn't the pretty one. I was like the darkest in my family. So it was always these things that weren't positive, and I was always teased, and I was always made fun of, and I was always bothered and talked about. And so being in a space where I got to not be someone else, but be around people that didn't
judge you,
that didn't judge me, that didn't abuse me, that didn't come for me. It was nice. You know what I mean?
So this is a safe space for you.
It is. It's a very safe space for me. And I was always into music. Like the youngest memory I have of my father is being like 2 years old, on our farm in Guyana, on his lap, He's playing the guitar. I'm singing with him. I probably couldn't even talk by then.
Right.
But I'm singing with him. That's like the youngest memory I have.
That's a beautiful memory
of my father. That's one of the few beautiful memories.
Yeah, we won't go there. We'll stay in the creative kind of.
But my father is a creative. My father's a writer. My father's a performer. He's a roots performer out in the West Indies and the Caribbean. He tours the West Indies and the Caribbean.
So it's in your blood.
Performing. My mother's a phenomenal singer too. I can remember taking like her Anita Baker tapes and her Alexander O'Neill tapes and
Alexander O'Neill.
Put it in my Teddy Ruxpin. And we would sing. And so the creative space, and I was the only child for a very long time. I'm, 15 to 20 years older than my siblings. So it was just me. And so that's how I would kind of placate myself. I wasn't happy in the real world. So this was the space where I got to be happy and I got to create and I got to, I didn't really know how to articulate it or understand it back then.
Right.
I don't think I really understood or knew how to articulate it till about like the last decade maybe.
Right.
But yeah.
So how has that changed you? Being able to kind of manage this creative energy and use it for good, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, no. It was a process because when you finally discover that you're good at something and you feel like most of your life you haven't been good at things, you can either really revel in that or you can become less grounded and get big-headed about it, or you can... And I had kind of all of that happening. I was not sure, but I knew I was good at music. I knew that I could sing because I worked for most of my life at that. And when I got into acting, when I got into acting as an adult. Like as a kid, you go for it, right? We don't have any
no fear.
There's no fear. There's no reservations. You just do what you do, and if you're actually innately good at it, but as an adult, now it's like, yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, I had a few people in my space who, saw my insecurities and fed on them. And, I pray with and for people. People prey on me. And so I fell into the trap. Am I good enough? And I really didn't allow that part of me to flourish the way that everything else did. And it was like fashion. Like, I love clothes. Everybody who knows me knows I love clothes. I love to be cute. I love to dress. But you know where that came from? Because growing up, I thought it was the ugliest thing on two legs. And I was like, if people gonna say she ain't cute, the least they gonna say is she look nice. And that's how I fell into fashion.
Everything has such a deep roots. We don't really think about it,
until we have to.
Right. We don't, like me writing came from, 5 brothers, 2 sisters, but they were all older in the 80s in Brooklyn and they run in the streets and I'm home alone with nothing to do. So I just was, creating, telling stories in my head, so it ended up, working, in my
ended up working out for you.
But, but that's what kind of, molds you. You don't really think about it. So it's definitely important that people be mindful of what kids see and feel because it will mold them for the positive or for the negative. Yeah.
I mean, I was talking about that with a friend the other day. People are like, oh, these days parents aren't parenting and I'm like, but to look at it from a compassionate space is parents are out there trying to survive and provide for these kids.
Right.
So it's not like in the 70s and 80s where we were content with not much, right?
Right.
These days, everyone wants everything.
Right.
Including you.
Right now.
For your kids and for yourself.
Right
including
now.
Your kids. Right. And so it's not, I don't think that parents are neglectful intentionally. I don't think that parents are not parenting intentionally. I think it's when your parent has 2 and 3 jobs so that you can have not just something to eat, but like y'all have a seafood night. Or like not just something to wear, but you got those Jordans.
Right.
Hey, Soul Kings. Parents are pushing and doing so much to give their children so much more than maybe they have had, that the thing that a lot of times they miss is the time. I say this all the time. Presence, ENTS, never outweighs presence, ENCE.
Right. And it's so much noise now. Where
so distractions.
They spend a lot of time on the noise for show versus, doing, whether it's time or whether, they want to do something for children so they can present what other people see.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of, you know, our parents didn't have to contend with that. You know,
right.
now there's so much noise.
Most
There's so much noise you can't even pay attention to you. I mean, you know,
most we had was duck hunt.
I mean, you know, you can't really pay attention to kids. I despise seeing parents on their phone walking in the street and their child is like 3 feet behind them and they're not mindful. It drives me crazy because nobody can be present anymore.
Yeah, it's like, it's so funny. So I'm a chaperone for the Black College Tour. And when we take the kids out, literally as soon as they get to the bus, so we take like, this year it's 40 kids, so I'm not going this year. But we take 40 to 60 kids for 5 days to 12 schools. We start at Tuskegee and work our way up to Morgan, all HBCUs. As soon as the kids get up and get on the bus, all devices get taken.
Okay,
they do not get them until it's time to go to bed. They are social media free for 5 days.
Wow.
5
That's
days.
like, and they don't die? That's like insane.
But the bonds they build, the social skills that they
That's
get
what we're
to
missing.
exercise,
That's what we're missing.
the way that they get to live in these moments instead of being so busy trying to capture them. It is such, like, to watch that metamorphosis happen.
I mean, and what about that? What about that world where, I've gone to concerts and it's like there are people that are taping the concert. They're not even there. They taping it so someone else can enjoy it and they can tell people where they were. And it's like they're not even enjoying the concert. They're not even looking around. They just kind of, and it's like, here. It's insane.
Well, because we've gotten to this place where it's not, we're not for us anymore.
We're for someone else.
We're for what we can show someone about us, what we've done, what we've accomplished, what we are doing. Okay,
so let's spin that around to this world that we live in, this career of film, TV. What does that do to that world? Where people make stuff to be seen versus, because for me, I know that I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the work. That's just what it is. I've been doing this. It's like breathing. This is what I do. I could be in the lab and people could not know anything. That's why doing this podcast, vlog, whatever you want to call it, is something of me stepping out of my comfort zone because I'm just about the work. I'm not about showing or talking about anything. Right. But that's just me. But there's a lot of people that are the other way around.
Because I think a lot of people, not a lot, but I think there are a good number of people that are in this for the wrong reasons. Right. If you are in the world of film, TV, media for fame, find a new thing. If you're in it for money, find a new thing. If you're in it to be a cool kid, find a new thing.
But if I could be the devil's advocate, I think 10 years ago that was something to tell people. Today, it's kind of like it's been turned on its head.
It has, but I think that if your intent, all those things are byproducts of doing the shit for the right reasons. Like, because how many people that between us that we know that are in this just to be seen, and then the things that you see, you're not impressed with.
But some people are winning. Some people are winning.
Hoes be winning, but that don't mean that I want to be that to get married. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, and it works for some. And if you happen to be one of the lucky few that slipped through the cracks, and that works for you, but will it sustain you? Pastor, we go to the same church. Pastor Bernard says it all the time, and it's been etched in my head since I heard it back in the 90s. How many times have we seen people whose talent and charisma and whatever else gets them to these lofty heights that their heart and their integrity can't sustain them in? So I can be talented and like have to get the gab and get out there, but where am I 10 years from now? What have I learned? Am I in the same place? I know people that have gotten to shine. But when I met them, I knew nothing. It's 10, 15 years later, I've excelled and expanded. They're in the same place. So they were popping back then. When I first came on the scene, it was like, oh my God, I want to be just like them. I want to do what they do. Now it's 10 years later, I've been blessed that God has seen fit for me to be able to expand my creative coasts. In the Bible it says, enlarge my coasts. I pray that prayer every day. Every day I say, Lord, please expand and enlarge my creative coasts. And I look back, and these people are doing the same things with the same half-behind standard of excellence. with the same lack of executionary growth, but no growth. And it's like if you're doing the same thing that you were in the same way 10 years later, something wrong.
I mean, but that's the thing about, I talk to creatives about, being able to separate your art from who you are. It's kind of like if you're not growing as an individual, as a person, you're not going to grow as a creative.
Yeah.
They're tied together. You have to grow, evolve. You have to become better for your art to get better. So you can't be closed off and not want to be a better person and grow and give and think that you're going to excel to the levels of what you think in your head.
That's the key word. Give. What are you giving? What are you giving to yourself? What are you giving to others? What are you giving to the community? See, because my dream thing is to do a TED Talk. I'm going to do it in 2018.
You're going to do a TED Talk.
I am going to do this TED Talk. And I've actually applied for the fellowship for TED, gotten into the finals, not gotten the fellowship. But if it's not TED, it'll be TEDx. But I want to discuss the emotional and restorative needs of creatives.
That's interesting. That's interesting because tomorrow I'm having a therapist come on to talk about trauma with regard to creatives, because it's really tough to create with all this noise going on.
Right.
So how do you sustain yourself as a creative when there's this other battle that you're fighting?
Absolutely. Everybody's got demons, right? But
suicide, depression.
Yeah. My take on it is, or what I really want, and I'm not a therapist, so my talk is not in the idea of resolving the problem. It's about creating the dialogue, right? And so as creatives, whatever type of creative you are, what you create, the world is only conditioned to consume. They are not here to care about your emotional state at $150 a ticket. They are not here to know that you're on E and do something about it when they just want to see this movie.
Right.
So as a creative, whatever it is that you create, the world is only here and conditioned as a whole to consume and withdraw the thing that you are putting out.
So you got to find ways to pour into yourself.
You're
responsible for that.
You are, but the other piece of it is, as a community, we are responsible for each other.
Right. True.
Because we know what it's like to consistently have people drink from our cups and then have nothing left for ourselves.
We all we got.
We know that, right? So it's like, for self, you should be able to get to a place where you recognize you are not refilling yourself. And the same muscle memory that you utilize to create and see a need for what you're creating is the same muscle memory you have to turn to yourself and say, I'm on E. I'm running low.
Which is tough for a lot of people to recognize.
But here's the thing. We know when we aren't well. Yes. But the problem is society has conditioned so many people to be functionally dysfunctional that we don't pay attention to it. And so
we're paying attention to social media.
If I don't see that, but I speak to you and I don't get the same energy that I know I get from you, I know when something's up. Right. And I always be like, Boogie, what's up? Vice versa. As a creative community, because a lot of times we're so steadfastly focused on what we are creating and putting out, our community has to become tighter and less comparative and less competitive and more collaborative, even if just emotionally, to say, I see my brother, I see my sister, something's up. How can I help you? Do you need a hug? Do you need me to go?
A lot of people need hugs these days.
Do you need... And the thing about it is, like, for me, a lot of people that know me on social know I don't do it publicly. If I see somebody post something, I'm immediately in your inbox or in your text messages. What's up?
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this too. Just
Can I pray with you?
Just the talking aspect is really important. We don't think that is important, but you can talk somebody off a ledge and not even know you did.
And you can talk somebody on a one.
Right. So I mean, I think this dialogue, us creative people continue to have a connection, not just on social media. I don't want to just like your post. I want you to sit and have coffee with me and talk and look in your face and really have a one-on-one conversation with you.
So I have my phone here because I shared something. So every once in a while, it used to be monthly, and life happened. So it's not monthly right now, but I do a blog post. And a lot of times these blogs are not really about me or my projects. They're to benefit my creatives, right? And so there's something that I wrote, and I want to share it because I feel like it's right in line with where we are.
Give it to me.
So, where is it? I said that as we walk into this new year, I want to leave you with my chosen word for 2018. The word for 2017 that I meditated on was momentum. It has no set speed or destination. It just means forward. For this coming year, the word is listen. Listen to my spirit, my heart, my instincts, my gut, my mentors, my supporters, my tribe. Listen to what is unsaid. Listen to hear, not to just respond. Listen to advance not just my own agenda, but to bless another's. However, self is serviced first in this new year for sure. No is a complete sentence. It's okay to change my mind.
Yes.
And reconnecting in person and voice to voice will refill a lot of what is empty in my heart space, along with strengthening my spiritual connection with the Creator. I encourage you to take stock of your 2017, find the holes, and figure out how to fill them in 2018. Love up on yourself and your tribe. It will be challenging, but know that if you rise to the challenge, it will also be transformative and progressive. Let's do the work and win in the new year. Yours in anticipation and audacity, Miss O.
I mean, that's great. I mean, it's like, that's what it's about. We you can't be in a good space and help someone else if you're not in a good space.
No. Sometimes we go through the iron sharpening iron part, where I'm not in a good space and you are, and so I'm coming to you to get some of that.
Right.
And it's okay to give.
No, and we that's our job. That's our job as creators.
We can't be so proud.
I mean, but that we're past that. I think
or to feel like the only place that we can create in is trauma and drama.
Right.
I know so many people that wear this badge of honor of being the tortured creative.
Right.
Who wants that?
I don't want that.
I don't want that. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I feel so bad for Mary J. Blige because the joke is always
she creates great music.
Mary is great Mary. That's not right. And that's not true.
And that's not healthy.
And that's not healthy. So it's like we can't take everything I don't want to be that starving artist. I will always be hungry, but I don't have to be starving.
Right.
For whatever.
Because that shit ain't cute.
No. But for whatever. Attention, love, whatever. I don't want to be starving for that. And with family, in my creative field, I call them family. With my creative family, I should never be starving.
That's a weird word.
It is. It's my friends and my family, so it's family. But with them, I've never, so many people, the last 6 months of this year were the most traumatic I've had in almost a decade. Literally.
Wow.
But so many people stepped up and stepped in and helped me get through. I didn't even know I had that much support. Because I'm so used to supporting everybody else.
It's crazy how, to me, I think the creative community, I've gotten the most support from the creative community. People that I've rocked with for years, but we're not cool, whatever. We see each other, we work together, and it's surprising who got your back and who doesn't. Yeah. Some people you assume have your back, and some people you're not even thinking about, and they ride or die
they're the ones
for,
that will come through.
And it's like, and people are watching.
Yeah.
People are watching, and we're watching, so...
And we can't base who's gonna ride for us on what we feel is consistency.
Right.
Because it's the people that watch you all the time, but may not reach out to you all the time that got you.
Right.
And a lot of times people don't reach out because if you're constantly moving, they just feel like it's intrusive.
Right.
And it's not because they don't love you. It's not because they don't support you. It's not because they're not down with you. They just don't reach out because they figure you're busy.
What's that? I also find this line where, the appearance that we put, that we're very strong, we're focused, and we're going. We do what we do. You have this perception that you're strong and you're about your business. You go hard. I do. And it's like, where's that line where, we can be that. We can be strong. We can be focused. We can be a lion in these streets. But we also are vulnerable and we need to lean on. We know we're all lean on God. We all, that's something that we do in our prayer life.
But we're still, the human experience is still.
So where's that line where we can be soft? We can be hard, but we can be soft, because that's a line that's hard to tote sometimes.
But the thing about it is, at least for me, if you follow me on social, especially Facebook,
I know I follow you on social,
super transparent.
and I'm just like I'll be like, yo,
I'm super transparent, and I know that it unnerves people sometimes. Right. Like my mom hates it. She does, but my mother was a very private, closed-off, conservative person. She's a brilliant individual, and I'm so proud of who she's growing into. Mm-hmm. And this year, she's made bigger strides than I've ever seen in my 39 years, and I love her for that. But like. My mom hates how much I put out there. She hates it. But what I realize is that is part of my ministry. When Jesus was out there saving souls, there was a lot of people that didn't like it.
Right.
But he was
they didn't want to hear it.
Right. So it's like for me, I feel like especially as a woman of color in a game that is very white male dominated and at this point very black male dominated in regards to the indie space. The indie space is very black. Yes. Independent film, at least in art, it's a lot of men. A lot of black men are the ones that are running and calling the shots and hiring us women to do the administrative supportive stuff, right? But I feel like as a woman, specifically a black woman or even a just person of color, I'm not here to show you just my highlight reel. I'm going to show you my backstory. I'm going to show you my BTS. Like I remember Pastor Bernard said something else. Like, you can look at this wonderful tapestry, but when you flip it over, it's nothing but strings and mess.
Holding it together.
Making that beautiful picture on the other side.
So what is that to, because that's the flip side. That's the, it's kind of like showing this vulnerable side of who you really are. And us, we know that everybody curates social media.
Right.
It's
I curate my
only the
brand.
Best picture, you know what I'm saying? But we're talking about because we're in this creative space that we have a brand, but there's some people that just working at FedEx that are curating,
right?
Right, so to speak,
right?
And how they're living and what what I'm saying. So how healthy is that to really, because after a while, I think people tend to believe what they're posting.
Right. No, people drink their own Kool-Aid all the time. So I think that you have to. I think like for me, and this is not everybody's thing, but like journaling your real feelings. And going back later and reading them again. That's old school. It is, but it's so effective.
Right. It's kind of like getting back to the basics. We really have to get back to the basics.
Like, because I journal in my emotive times, and then I wait till I'm feeling really good, and I go back and read it to really assess where I am. And I had to condition myself to do that.
But you're self-reflective. You're kind of an evolved, evolved.
But that's from years and years of trauma.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's still hard. So what happens when
the person that's not that?
Right. It's kind of like what does that world look like for them when it's not perfect for us.
Baby, get a therapist. That prayer life.
And I want to switch over to this. You mentioned ministry and media because I'm really into this being, my ministry. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast, whatever you want to call it, is because of media and ministry. Just kind of, just speaking, my truth, reaching out to people, inspiring, and not just making movies, but just kind of, I did it and I got into it for a bigger purpose.
Right.
And when do we start living in that bigger purpose?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, Boogie, as somebody who, I've looked at you as a mentor for the better part of the last 10 years. Whether you realize that or not. And I remember the very first time I met you, I was auditioning for something you were doing.
I didn't cast her? Oh, shit.
I sucked. No, he didn't cast me because I was bad, right? I was still growing in my actor space.
Okay.
And I own that. But the bigger part of it was your energy was very telling that I wasn't great. But it wasn't nasty. It wasn't rude. It was more like, it was very, you didn't say it, but your energy was like, keep working, sis. You know what I mean? And then when you realized that I was working behind the camera as well, that's when we connected. And at the time I had a business partner when I first started interacting with you from a behind the camera space. I had a business partner and she was doing a lot of stuff. And
my phone.
His phone is ringing.
It's all good.
She was doing a lot of stuff. And I was just kind of stepping into figuring out who I was in this place. And you had solicited the two of us collectively for things. And then I realized that we just had a connection. And so you began to really kind of take me under your wing. And let me tell y'all, we have had our moments.
Yeah, we have a love-hate relationship.
We do. Actually, we have a love-love relationship.
A love, and it's kind of like because you are alpha female.
I am.
You are.
I
am. And like.
But what's funny is I'm an alpha female until I'm not working. I'm only that way in a workspace. I'm really like even in romantic relationships. I am absolutely the docile.
Oh, I picture you as the alpha female relationship.
No,
like, get in the bed.
I'm not. I am like I'm like, what do you want for dinner, baby? I'm such a domestic homemaker. I'm such a Susie homemaker.
Okay, we get back. Okay, continue,
but I say this because like you have provided so much for so many. So you've been living in your ministry for a long time, whether you see it or not. You may want to do more or expand that, but there's so many of us out there that have how Boogie held me down stories. There's so many, and we've all like talked amongst each other.
Oh, really? Ooh, I want to be in that conversation.
Like, there's so many of us that have had these, Boogie held me down moments or situations or livelihoods. You know what I mean? How many times have I had no job, no income, no nothing, and you've been like, yo, it's a PA gig, but it's money. Come on. You know what I mean? And this year, you trusted me to the biggest place that you've ever trusted me before. And even that was a challenge. That's because I hug people, but
long story.
Right. But we even after the challenges, even after we both had our feelings about whatever it was, we came together. We had a real conversation about how we
look at us now. We're here now.
Right. We had a real conversation about
we hugged and cried it out. We hugged and cried it out. We do.
Right. And the thing about it is, but that's all ministry. Being open to someone coming and telling you when you ain't right. On either side. Right.
That's the iron sharpening iron.
Right.
It's kind of like
that's part of ministry. Like for me, I know I have numerous people that I have worked and done things for nothing. For things that I could have charged a healthy sum for. On days when I had nothing. And for me, when I'm at my lowest, I look for somebody to help because it's the only thing that brings me back out of that place. Like I've been in the suicidal space.
Right.
I've been in the uber depressive space. I've tried to take my life before. Twice. Once as a child, once as a grown up, no. And so I know what that is and I know what that feels like. I've been in and out of therapy since I was 10. You know what I'm saying? So for me, the ministry part for me is showing people the ugly sometimes.
Right.
Because I feel like they need to see that. And they need to understand that while, I got some great pictures on Instagram and I look all cute or I look like I'm doing 9,000 things, there are many times where I am just home drowning in my own salty tears because I feel so fruitless.
And that's the thing that people can relate to and say, if she can get through it, I can.
Right. And that's why I tell people where I am and what I'm doing to, like, I don't ever just lament. I always end it with, but we gonna get this together. So if I'm gonna get it together, if you here, you gonna get it together. We gonna get this together. And when I say I'm here, I mean it. Like, it's not just a tagline. So many people have called me up on that, and I've done my best to be who I say I am because it's important. I know people that be like, I got you, and they don't have, and it's just for show.
Right.
It's never for show. If there's anyone out there that ever needs me, if I can, I will. And if I can't, I'll tell you why and help you find someone who can. I'm honest.
I mean, that's what they say. Our gift isn't really for us; it's for someone else. So we have to share.
I want to leave here empty. Like, I want to leave here empty. Yes. I want to go up to God like, dude, I had nothing to bring with me because I left it all down there.
Right.
Like,
and He'll say, job well done.
Absolutely. I tell people this all the time. There's no coincidence that in biblical times, currency were called talents. In biblical times, money, currency were called talents. That is not coincidental. That is God. Your talents are your currency. It's up to you to figure out how to get them from here to here. And the best way to do that is to put them in the marketplace. They don't have to be just yours. Right. When the servant buried it in the ground so not to lose it, he was a wicked servant. Right. The servants that took it into the marketplace and doubled and or tripled or whatever those talents that the master had given them were the good and faithful servants.
So you can't hold your talents.
No, you got to be a good steward over your talents. And being a good steward over your talents is taking them and putting them in the marketplace. And sharing them. That's what gets you. The more you give genuinely with no situation of what you're going to get back is the more you'll get back. And 90% of the time, not from the person you gave it to.
Preach!
I was taught well.
Oh,